it's interesting to see this develop. But
I'll tell you one thing. We're at
lose your marbles. If you lose your marbles,
I wondered how you kept it all together.
Everybody ready? Everybody ready? I'd like to welcome everyone to the Elizabethton City Schools Board of Education December meeting, and thank you all for coming. We'll try to get through this as quickly as possible because I'm sure you all have places you need to be. I'd like to ask if Mr. Alexander would lead us in the Pledge of the Flag and moment of silence.
please stand. Please pause for a moment of silence. Thank you. Attention. Salute. Pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We're a little short tonight. We're missing a couple of people, and I hope they're okay. I don't know, Ms. Perkins, did you hear from anyone? Okay, I didn't either. So I hope Ms. Armstrong and Ms. Baker are well. So we miss them. Hope they have a good holiday. But so anyway, there we go. It's time for citizens to speak in accordance with Board Policy 1.404. Anyone wishing to address the board, please come forward and state your name and address. Seeing none. All right, we'll move on. It's time for the consent and regular agenda. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you. Can I have a second?
Second.
Second. Any questions, comments on this? Can I make a recommendation? If everyone's looked over everything. I know Mr. Van Huss has spent a lot of time working on all of the new policies. I know that they've all been reviewed by our board attorney. So if it would, unless someone wants to speak about anything specific, would you be interested in taking agenda items 9 through 20 and voting on them together?
I'm fine with that.
You okay with that? All right. Anybody else have any other questions or comments before we vote on the agenda?
Ms. Van Huss, we're supposed to remove number 7, are we not?
Oh.
Board so approves.
Oh, okay. So we need to remove item number 7. Okay. Everybody okay with that as well? Okay, so what we're looking at is we're removing agenda item number 7, and we will take agenda items 9 through 20 and vote on them as one vote. Everybody okay with that? All right. So item on the floor is to approve consent and regular agenda. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Thank you. Motion carries. All right. Mr. Alexander, your report.
To begin with, we will be recognizing next month the band seniors and the upper class of the Elizabethton High School football team. I hope as most of you people came in, you noticed the hallway here and the changes that occurred as a result of Mr. Trent's maintenance person, who is a carpenter extraordinaire, Lester Perkins, has done a great job in that, and we continue to update this building, and we just think it, from what it used to look like, it looks wonderful. Next thing, Mrs. Bataille has a talent show down at Harold McCormick this evening, and Dr. Wandell has a musical. So those people aren't here. The next thing is we'd like to invite all board members because all school employees at all levels, 450 of them are to show up sometime between 11:30 and 1:30 tomorrow at Elizabethton High School for the exemplary school system celebration. So if you all have an opportunity to breeze through, there will be some music involved and good food, we believe, and it's to reward those people, all of whom it took to make our school system an exemplary school system. Now for personnel, new hires, Samuel Adams, EHS interim English teacher, effective 12/9. Judith Cheek, T.A. Duggar interim special education teacher, effective 1/2/14. Shannon Clark, Westside part-time assistant to the teacher, effective 1/6/14. Elizabeth Keith, T.A. Duggar, part-time assistant to the teacher, effective 1/6/14. Next, transfers. Kenneth Harden from EHS head boys tennis coach to EHS head girls tennis coach, effective 12/9. Also on another sheet that you have been given there, other transfers, Carl Hall from Westside assistant to the teacher to T.A. Duggar, part-time mathematics teacher, effective 1/2. Resignation, Chelsea Harold, T.A. Duggar teacher, effective 12/18. Next, leave of absence, Cheryl Pitts, Westside guidance counselor, from 12/2 to 1/1/14. Irene Batchelor, T.A. Duggar teacher, from 12/11/13 to 1/5/14. Marianne Williams, nutrition coordinator, from 1/9/14 to 2/21/14. Also, we have Sean Julian, Harold McCormick teacher, from 12/16 to 1/1/14. Substitute teacher, Cynthia Duffy, effective 10/31/13. Mary Tapp, effective 11/12/13. Also, we have John Ramsey, effective 12/6/13. Angelina Hathaway, effective 12/12/13. And Paulette Bray, effective 12/13/13. We have one substitute cook, Joseph Edwards, effective 12/10/13. Thank you.
Time for reports by administrative staff. Does anybody have anything? If not, I actually do. And I'm going to read this simply because, and I apologize, but it's better that I read what I've written. So, Mr. Alexander and I attended the City Council meeting Thursday night, and we were there because we thought the Council would be allowing us access to the bond money, which was secured for our capital project. Neither Mr. Alexander nor I had received any indication from anyone on the Council that there was any unrest among them, so we were understandably surprised to find that the Council had determined to defer the vote. And to be honest, after several days of trying to understand what they hoped to accomplish by a delay, I've got to admit I am still at a loss. I would encourage any council members who feel misled about our desire to take the bond money and move the stadium, construct the music room, and convert the old band choral room into classes to reread or to maybe read for the first time the countless articles which have been written. I would imagine that Ashley and John are as well versed in what we're planning to do as we are. And first of all, thank you all for everything. But to say that, both Ms. Rader and Mr. Thompson have attended every board meeting, called workshop, working lunch with the council, which we were questioned extensively. They attend to meet the candidates. They've been to every capital committee meeting, and finally the called meeting on November 5th, where the board voted 4-1 to accept the capital committee's recommendation to use the bond money for the stadium and music room. We also sent each member of the City Council a packet containing minutes from the committee's meetings, drawings of the proposed project, as well as a study that Mayor Alexander requested detailing the cost to renovate and update Brown Childress Stadium. which he assured us would help the council understand why we felt the need to move the stadium. And apparently there's, just so you know, that little project cost us somewhere in the neighborhood of $11,000 to do. And again, Mr. Weems had to do a lot of work under a very short period of time, but that was a little pricey, and not on his part. That we asked for him to do that, and he did a great job. Apparently, there are still some council members who think we should just put up temporary bleachers at Brown Childress Stadium and build the addition at T.A. Duggar. But reading that study should have explained that once we begin any construction at Brown Childress Stadium, it would cost over $3 million just to have it meet all of the codes, the current codes, and would be less than what it is now. Mr. Van Huss and I were talking, and he said something that I think we should think about. As a reminder that this board and this administration have proven to be good stewards of the bond money secured through the 1/2 cent sales tax. The two bonds would total $11.7 million. With this money, we have completed and will complete these projects. 21 new classrooms. So obviously, we do care about building classrooms. I'm sorry, I take huge offense at that whole line. It wasn't in my notes, and we'll stop talking about that. 2 new gyms, a stadium, which I believe we should include as a classroom, 2 new roofs, new windows, a secure entrance at Elizabethton High School, new softball and baseball fields at T.A. Duggar, an elevator, 6 bathrooms, 4 office spaces, 2 remodeled cafeterias, and a computer lab. That's a lot for $11.7 million. So I feel very strongly that we have done a good job. For the past 2.5 years, we have attempted to explain the 3 projects in the order that they would have to be completed. We have stressed this isn't the priority, but the logistical order. There has never been any mention by any one of us that we could ever build the addition at T.A. Duggar without first moving the stadium. I would encourage any members of the council who feel misled to try and figure out where that idea originated, because with every mention in the paper, every segment on TV, and in any streamed and archived board meeting, we have always maintained that we have to move the stadium first. The insistence that we have somehow misled them is very confusing, and to be honest, it's a little insulting. So apparently, and now I'm speaking to anybody who's going to read this and watching us, we need your help. If you're a parent, a teacher, a student, or any citizen who feels like these projects need to be completed and completed quickly, we ask you to pick up the phone, we ask you to send an email, or visit city council members and let them know that you want to see these projects completed and completed soon. I know that most people have assumed these projects were going to happen, but, well, here we are. And we appreciate all the council does for our city. I mean, we really, really do. They've been very good to us. But I would ask that they trust us as an elected school board, which voted 4-1 to accept the committee's recommendation to construct the stadium and build a music room at Elizabethton High School, and to trust our experienced superintendent and his staff to continue making the best decisions for our school system. We've spent years working on these projects, and we know this is the best route for us to take given the amount of money that was secured for us. And lastly, I want to personally thank Richard Tester, he's on the City Council, for his unwavering support of our decision. I'd like to ask the council for some communication about a time frame that we can expect to see this item added to their agenda for approval. And we ask that they remember that every day that they delay, it costs our students the opportunity to enjoy the new music room and the new stadium. So, sorry about that, but I have felt strongly to say that. Anybody can have this copy. Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Let's move on to the regular agenda. First item is approved resolution of Elizabethton Board of Education supporting legislation to change requirements to eliminate or at the very least increase the caps on school buses to enable districts to run them as long as they are safe and passing inspections conducted by the Department of Safety. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you. Can I have a
Second.
Thank you.
I would like to have Mr. Hutchins address the shape that our buses are in and what the requirement is for this, because I attended the Superintendent Study Council today, and there was not a conflicting view in reference to this, but I'll explain why that's the case if Mr. Hutchins be kind enough to address it.
Obviously, this would be a tremendous help to us with respect to transporting the students that we currently have. Our buses currently can operate for 17 years as long as they pass inspections and as long as they don't go over 200,000 miles.
What
Currently,
was the miles again?
200,000.
Thank you.
We currently have no buses over or near 200,000. When I say near, I think bus 12 and bus 20 are probably around 190,000 at this point in time, but they probably wouldn't run more than 8,000 to 10,000 miles a year anyway. That would buy us a little bit of time. Now, depending on what happens with respect to this resolution, whether or not they would up the mileage as long as they continue to pass inspections. Mr. Lindbergh at the high school does a tremendous job in maintaining our buses. There aren't many things that he can't do. What he can't do, he does get to Smoky Mountain or gets back to the manufacturer with respect to warranty work. So, you know, it would buy us a little more time. We currently have a matrix of when we need to purchase buses. We're going to be coming back in January and asking for another bus, and that's to replace one of the two that we're losing. Right now, if nothing changes, we lose 2 buses January the 15th. We lose 2 buses. So 2 of the 3 that we purchased this past year would then go on route. So we would appreciate, you know, the opportunity to keep these buses because they are well maintained. Our routes are relatively short in comparison to, say, Carter County's routes. Our longest route is 18 miles. The average route is between 6 and 12 miles. So if we're able to keep them and utilize them for an extended period of time, as long as they're operated safely and inspected properly, we think that we could get more years out of it.
Are you saying you're losing the 2 buses because of the cap?
Yes. They will attain 17 years on January the 15th.
And if I may say something, of course, the most important thing is safety. And the reason that we had some disparity in our superintendent's meeting is because we're looking at Hamlin, Greene County, Washington County, and things of this nature. And some of the roads that they run can be very treacherous. So, and they have great distances that they have to run, and kids have to spend many hours every day sometimes for that. But so, under circumstances, ours can be safe within the 5-mile across that we have for our town, and it will save us a lot of money that we could use for personnel or other reasons. I'm sure Mrs. Wilson could find something to work that into. But again, we didn't disagree with them. We know what they're facing, but we are certain that we can make, and Mr. Lindbergh can make it safe for and we have good drivers. So under those circumstances, we would ask that you would consider this resolution.
Any more questions or comments? Item on the floor is to approve resolution of Elizabethton Board of Education supporting legislation to change requirements to eliminate or at the very least increase the caps on school buses to enable districts to run them as long as they are safe and passing inspections conducted by the Department of Safety. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Ms. Tushin.
Thank you. Next, approve the contract between Elizabethton City Schools and STARS Nashville for Bullying Overview Webinar training on January 2nd, 2013 at a cost of $250. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you. Can I have a second?
Second.
All right.
Mr. Van Hess is the Alveus man in reference to the bullying program, but Mr. Hutchins works closely with that as well as it relates to how that's attached to our software program, and that need is met. Go ahead, please.
Last year, the state required us for the first time to send in a plan for our professional development days, and we had to have this plan approved before we'd actually have our school calendar approved. And part of that plan, we felt like it was important to take some time and review the Alveus bullying prevention program, of which the materials and training we received about 3 or 4 years ago. So our faculty and staff, they're familiar with that program, but we felt like it was important enough to take a few minutes to give them a little brush up on that. So this training would occur January the 2nd. the day we come back after Christmas break. And it will basically be about an hour-and-a-half webinar with Roger Dinwiddie with Stars Nashville. And I don't know if any of you remember this or not. When we first kind of got on board with Stars and the Alveus program, Mr. Dinwiddie came up and did a presentation for our faculty, and then we had an evening at T.A. Duggar where he talked about bullying, cyberbullying, and those kinds of things. So this is the premier bullying prevention program in the state of Tennessee. Mr. Dinwiddie is now working with the State Department of Education. So we're very excited. We were in on the front end of that, which we're always excited about that. So that's what this request is to allow.
That's fantastic. That's an international program, is it not?
It is. Yes, sir.
Has this already happened or going to happen?
No, it will happen January the 2nd.
On the 4th in 2014 instead of 2013.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Sorry about that. Yes, sir. Sorry.
That's what I was wondering.
I believe
If it already happened, it was going to happen. Okay.
I believe it's important to say that some of the people in the State Department have some questions about professional development, and I can assure you that our people here are very conscientious about making sure that what our people actually are exposed to are what they should be. And I'm not knocking anybody else, but I'm just saying because there was some criticism of other places throughout the state, they felt like we had to submit those in advance, which we thought was a little cruel, but we'll do what the state tells us to do. And I appreciate the efforts of these people, especially with Mr. Pless. They're changing his testing schedules almost daily and things of this nature. We're trying to see how we're going to be doing that so we can plan decent professional development. But I appreciate their willingness to do that, and they do a good job.
Anything else? All right. Item on the floor is to approve the contract between Elizabethton City Schools and Stars Nashville for bullying overview webinar training on January 2nd, 2014 at a cost of $250. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. All right. So now for the fun part, sit back, get comfortable. I'm going to read a whole lot of stuff as quickly as I possibly can. All right, so looking at items 9 through 20, approve first reading of Board Policy 1.808, nepotism as revised. Thank you. Approve first reading of Board Policy 5.115, assignment/transfer as revised. Approve first reading of Board Policy 6.204, attendance of non-resident students as revised. Approve first reading of Board Policy 6.300, Code of Behavior and Discipline as revised. Approve first reading of Board Policy 6.302, Procedural Due Process as revised. Approve first reading of Board Policy 6.303, Interrogations and Searches as revised. Approve first reading of Board Policy 6.304, Student Discrimination/Harassment and Bullying, Intimidation and Cyberbullying as revised. Approve first reading of Board Policy 6.306, Interference/Disruption of School. I used to get so tickled when Matt would get tangled up trying to read all these. Now it's coming back to get me. Disruption of school activities as revised. Approve first reading of Board Policy 6.316, Suspension/Expulsion/Remand as revised. Approve first reading of Board Policy 6.317, Student Disciplinary Hearing Authority as revised. Approve first reading of Board Policy 6.318, Admission of Suspended or Expelled Student as revised. And approve first reading of Board Policy 6.319, Alternative School Programs as revised. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
All right. Any question or discussion on any of these?
This is one time. We don't read these back, right? This is a final and a first.
I hope.
These are because these are reviews. This is a one time. We don't bring them back and do this twice. Is that correct, or?
No, we are not approving these on
First reading. These are second.
only. We will have a second reading.
Okay. All right. I thought these were revised. So. Okay. All right.
The reason that we would be doing that is that for two things. Obviously, we give you all time to study it again, but it would also give the opportunity, if Ms. Armstrong and Ms. Baker are here next month, that they would have the opportunity to have input at that time. If we pass it on first reading only tonight, they would not have the opportunity to do that, obviously, and then we would have to bring it all back and start over again if they wanted to change something.
It was the first reading that confused me. I thought in the past when we were reviewing these policies that are ongoing, that they were a one reading. We've
No,
been
sir,
doing
not all of
okay.
them.
First of all, thank you for looking at all of these. I know a lot of these are meant to match current laws and putting as much teeth into our policies as we can. So as a parent, appreciate that. Do you want any of them that you think anything we need to know, or?
Again, I can do as much or as little as you want or need. I mean, that's completely up to you.
Okay, I don't have any questions.
Yeah, a couple of readings. These are ones that I think we've talked about at least in form or substance at the safety committee that we had at one point, and they seem to be on the anniversary of Newtown. It seemed to be very appropriate that we revisit these. I know we've had concerns that we make sure that we're at the highest level of security and safety for our students. So I've looked over them. I wasn't sure if we were doing one or two readings, but I think all of these apply to those safety issues that need to be done.
And I can tell you that Ms. Owen has looked over and had input on each and every one of these. So.
And they're all up with the current law that came out in this new book.
Yes, sir.
I just got the old one memorized.
Give you something to do this weekend.
It's light reading.
Light reading. Any other questions? Do I get to read these all over again? I don't have to. Oh, wonderful. So, item on the floor is to approve combined agenda items 9 through 20. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Anything else? Before I ask for an adjournment, I just want to remind everybody the next regularly scheduled board meeting will be Thursday, January 16, 2014, 6:30 at the Mac Pierce Boardroom. We will be looking at our board policy revision schedule, which is Section 2, Physical Management. Remind everyone, 11:30 to 1:30, please come drop in at the high school cafeteria. I want to wish everyone a wonderful, wonderful Christmas. Thank you all so much for what you do. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.